guys, Mark Holthe here, coming a little bit more casual than normal. You know what? When your hair gets so long like this, it's like, what's the point of trying to fix it? So today I just let her flow. Now we have a very abbreviated Q&A today. So we're going to hit right into the questions that people are asking. We've got a great group of people that are tuning in, and I do want you to list where you're listening from. We're about 15 minutes early because we're only going to go half an hour today because I'm in the midst of my online Canadian Bar Association Immigration National Conference that we're now spinning out via 3 webinars. So if you're an immigration lawyer watching this, you've got to get on there and register because the content is phenomenal. If you want to get a feel for what's happening, go to my Twitter account. I have been tweeting like crazy. Let's see if we can pull this up while we're waiting for a few people to join us. But I have been tweeting like crazy. I've got so many screens around here. Let's flip over and see how this is. Okay, yeah, you can see here. I've actually, and I don't even know if you search here and you go at CBA IMM20, that is for our conference. And so you'll see here we've got a bunch of lawyers are also tweeting here. But I've spent a ton of time updating people, the government speakers. You can see the top people on the, making decisions about all of these challenging things. And there's my mother trying to call me. See, even Mark's mother tries to call him in the midst of a live Q&A. I guess I didn't tell her I was going live, and I should have turned that volume off. But hey, like I said, this is Mark. We're having some fun here. So you can see here, Ravi Jain, this is our national chair, Anna Karanacheva. She's been one of our speakers, and she just is going to be awarded the one of our 3 Volunteer of the Year awards. She's awesome, works at Edmonton Community Legal Center in Edmonton. And so anyways, yeah, just a ton of posts. There's Marina Sadai, who is the past chair of our national section, and all of these amazing speakers, all the government speakers, Chief Justice, the Honorable Paul S. Crampton of the Federal Court of Canada was there speaking, talking about some of the absolutely amazing. Wow, what do we got going on today? Just a second. My mom is persistent today. Unfortunately, Mom, I am going live. You know what? If it wasn't for truly live, I would probably have answered it. But because we're going live to so many different platforms, well, what is professionalism? I guess apparently for the purpose of what we're doing here today, this is good enough, right? And I know you guys are forgiving. So anyways, pay attention to this. This is all the tweets that I've been tweeting. But if you're an immigration lawyer, get in there and register because it is totally 100% worth it. All right. Okay, let's shift back here. So, and I guess I had a little bit of an overlay there with with Amna. All right, let's see who else we got. We got Lester here from the Bahamas is in the house. Awesome. Ralph is of course laughing at all of the phone, all of the phone calls I've had. Oh, Karen. Karen says, "Hi, Mark's mom." This is what it's all about, you guys. Yes, it is not the most. It's not the most spectacular. Also, Igor says I need to turn my audio up. So I'm going to turn my mic up just a little bit so it can pick up. There. That's why I've got awesome Igor here to help me. All right. And we'll get the audio a little bit closer because you guys obviously need to be able to hear what I am doing. All right. Amna also says you can answer your mom. You guys are awesome. You guys rule. Okay, well, as you can see today, our this is the title. It's interesting when I post these titles, right? Obviously, I want people to tune in and listen. So I'm trying to be a little bit more creative in how I am titling all of these so that people will actually tune in and listen because the content here is phenomenal. And one of the reasons why I chose the title that we have for today, all about, this breaking news on family reunification. Many of you probably know that there's this lattice. That's the only way I can describe it. This interwoven mesh of immigration policies, immigration regulations, the law, directives, now through the Quarantine Act, these orders in council that are now being implemented by a number of different organizations, including the Canada Border Service Agency. And you guys have seen the news reports. You guys who have family, who are separated. My good friend Curtis here who's been my friend since the early days when we lived in a small little hamlet of Carmangay, Alberta. His wife and Prue, he's been separated from her because of these orders in council and because of the directives that are coming directly via the Quarantine Act, with who can come and who can't. Now, for a long time, we've been struggling because the Canada Border Service Agency has refused to release their, and I've got the name of it right now, their shift briefing bulletin. And it's entitled Restricting Entry of U.S. Citizens and Other Foreign Nationals into Canada from the United States, all modes. And there's also a bunch of other directives that apply to anyone who's looking to come to Canada. Well, they've been using this since March 26th. So we've got April all the way into May, refusing entry of people that are trying to be reunited with their families, let alone, the business and all of the essential purposes, businesses that are operating in essential areas within Canada, who then on top of it have to show that the entry is non-optional and non-discretionary. Well, on top of it, the interpretation of that section is what's been giving so many families so many problems. And that's what I wanted to jump on. And that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys today, because finally, after the very, very hard work of some amazing immigration lawyers in Canada, we're now able to get that document released. Now, CBSA would not give it to us. We requested it many times through the Canadian Bar Association. And remember, I'm the vice chair of the national section. Our chair, Ravi Jain, has reached out repeatedly to get them to release it, because hey, if we know what they're looking at, we know the rules that they're that are guiding their decision making, then we can advise our clients accordingly. It just makes perfect sense, but they weren't willing to. So thank you so much. And at this stage, I don't have the ability, and I don't feel comfortable releasing it to everybody. But I haven't even had a chance, I'll be honest, even look at the document thoroughly. But it's just full of a ton of information, directives on how the border officers are interpreting all of these travel restrictions. So the good news, at least for family reunification, is at least we know the rules that we're operating under. So at least now we understand what decisions the officers are likely to make in certain fact scenarios. And with this document, which I apologize, it was shared across our Canadian Bar Association listserv, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be released to the world. The reality is I could probably just share my screen, I guess, for a second and just show you what it is. And let me just flip to the website view here, and I'm going to change what I'm sharing with you guys and share my Acrobat. Okay, so this is the document. This is the directive that immigration has been using. The Canada Border Service Agency officers have been following. And within this, you'll see there's a ton of information here. And at the very end, we have right in here a bunch of fact scenarios. So they're all related to certain scenarios that help officers to understand whether or not someone should, and you can see here, and we had some released already, but this Appendix B is really the most important part, which shows basically the scenario, the type of travel, whether it's considered non-discretionary, and you can see they're inputting essential in here, which is actually confluting these two definitions, which we don't believe actually there is an essential part of this. This is their own kind of interpretation, but this document is finally released, and this is now what we, at least our immigration lawyers, have access to determine, at least get a better understanding of what an officer is looking at when they're trying to determine who they're going to be able to allow in and who they're going to have to turn back when they fly into Canada. And there's been a lot of miscommunication too, because IRCC Immigration has been tweeting and posting, updates regarding International Experience Canada, and they're, implicitly, although they're not trying to, because there isn't a room for nuance in these tweets. It's social media, right? What's happening is there's somewhat of a misinterpretation, and some of you may even have questions that are asked today related to can I travel or can't I travel, where IRCC is giving the impression that you can, and CBSA in turn is shutting people down at the border. But now that we have this, like I just shared, now that we have access to this, it's now given us an ability to be able to at least have more guidance. And personally, I feel it's beneficial for not just immigration lawyers and our clients, but it's also beneficial for CBSA and the airlines. Because if I have a client who says, Mark, can I travel? It looks based on IRCC that I have the ability to now, I have the ability to get on a plane and travel, and the airlines are okay with it. Well, if I know, that they're not going to pass that non-optional, non-discretionary test, then I can tell them don't come because it's not going to happen. So in essence, I'm actually helping with this whole safety of Canada, everything that the Quarantine Act is trying to protect, the health and safety of our citizens. So there we go. All right. So Mina says here, is this document available to the public? Well, yes, it is available to the public. Now, under what means and how it's being shared, we have authorization to share it with the public. The courts have allowed it because of the actions of the officers, but I just wanted to show it just briefly. And once I get more clarification, once I know that it can be shared, then I will do that. But I'm definitely not gonna do it before I give a huge shout out to the immigration lawyers who made that possible in the beginning. And that's the reality, guys. That's what we're looking at here, is the hard work that immigration lawyers do in the background. This is what makes the difference between an immigration lawyer and an immigration consultant. And I want to qualify, as I do every single time, that there are some amazing immigration consultants out there that do really good work. But this kind of stuff, this is lawyer, all right? And looks like we still have people trying to call me here. So we'll see how this all plays out. All right. Oh boy, this is tricky, isn't it? When you've got 100 things going on. All right. So what I want to do now in the time that we have remaining, because remember, I have to jump back onto my conference in a little bit. I'm here to answer your questions. And so we'll just go through it. We have quite a few people on the line, and I'm just going to go fast and furious, okay? Because I want to give as many people as much opportunity as possible. So you can start posting your comments now. So what I'm going to do is, so we've got Gagan, who says he's from Guelph. Great to see you. Darshan's Mississauga tuning in. So we'll start with unknown here, okay? So this person says, hi, Mark. Thanks so much for this Q&A. I received my COPR after March 18th, so am I not allowed to fly right now? The COPR is valid until July 30th. Do I have to do my medical again if I sent a web form and asked to reopen my case past July 30th? Okay. Right now, March 18th is the key, right? So if you did not receive your COPR, you said I received my COPR after March 18th. So March 18th is that deadline. So that's the cutoff point right now. So when it comes to traveling, and like I said, there's orders in council are changing all the time. So what I'm telling you, unknown right now, could change tomorrow. So right now, individuals are not able to board if you are post March 18th. And so in your situation there, no. Now, in terms of your validity, yes, July 30th, you have to notify immigration that you may or may not be able to travel before that time. And they will give you the opportunity. They'll basically diarize it for 90 days unless they hear from you. And then they'll come back and then they'll ask you, okay, what's your situation? So they may request new medicals or they may not. We just don't know at this stage, okay? Okay. Emin says, hi, Mark. How do we get our questions to you? You now post them now. Okay. All right. So let's see what Emin says here. Hi, Mark. I'm inland based in Canada. Ordered GCMS notes. And this is what I got in the note. Officer review approved. FOSS, NAI, satisfied all requirements are met. What does it mean? It means that you are in the process. Your application is proceeding forward. And obviously, when it's approved, that means that now they're going to get to the stages where they're requesting you to provide passport information and finalizing your application. The issue we have right now is biometrics. So now in Canada, they are waiving biometrics for some individuals who are not able to obtain them. And the finalization of permanent resident applications is coming by email. And it's just an email that says, congratulations, you're now a permanent resident of Canada. So that's what's happened, Eamon. You just need to sit tight, hang tight. Things are positive. Now, if you look at your GCMS notes, obviously those are probably a month and a half or 2 months old. So I don't even know when that note happened. You have to look at the date. But you could be very close to having things finalized, at least based on the very limited information that you have here. Okay. This is my Tommy says, I have a 4-year bachelor's, 2-year diploma. When using the CRS tool, do I qualify for the education factor option that says 2 or more certificates? Yes, you do. That's exactly right in that situation. Okay, Sissy says, I'm a registered practical nurse, both in Ontario and Alberta. Being an essential worker, is there a possibility of my PR application being expedited? Right now, they're not expediting anyone's applications in those contexts. Now, I want to give you a huge shout out, Sissy, for being on the front lines. I'm assuming that you said you're a registered practical nurse. I'm assuming you're on the ground right now in Canada, and I want to give you a huge shout out for just being awesome. But at this stage, there's been no notification that any special treatment is being given for permanent resident applications for individuals that are working in the health field. Okay. Okay. And then Gagan comes back with 442 under CEC. What are the chances? You know what, my friend? I don't know. I didn't think it was going to go below 450, but it did. And one of my clients is super stoked right now because, as I talked about in the last live Q&A, she was sitting at I think it was 453. Then she had a birthday, dropped to 448. Yes. And then there was a 447 draw. So Gagan, if they do another CEC, there's a distinct possibility that it's going to get down. Now, whether it'll go from 447 to 442, it just depends on how many people are in the queue. And now that we have language assessments going and people are able to write those tests, there's now going to be more people that's probably going to curb that downward trend. So whether it will hit you or not, tough to say, but good question. Okay. Okay, Manorama, great question. Sir, my son and daughter settled in Canada. We are seniors. Can we join them? Right now, it is very unlikely that you'll be able to do that until there's a change with respect to these orders in council, because officers on the border, and I can pull up my little sheet here, which I haven't quite tackled yet, but I can pull this up. I can search through here. I can take a look when it comes to individuals, families, reunification, and pull up at least the directive that they're using. And remember, this isn't binding on any officer. This is purely just a reference used for the officers to guide them as they make their own decisions. And I want to make that clear. This isn't like a hard and fast thing that officers have to follow. It's a guideline to help them. And fortunately now it's for us, will help us. But what we do know, based on the instructions they'd been giving us for a while, based on the real results we've seen with real clients who've tried to fly over parents, grandparents to spend time with family and been turned around and sent back. The reality is, when you look at everything that's been happening and we start to assess things very carefully, it's easy for us to see that that type of a situation that you're in right now is one that likely is not going to pass the non-optional or non-discretionary test. In other words, if you're not already living in Canada and there is a really critical reason for being there, and when I'm talking about critical, I'm talking about something that would border on humanitarian and compassionate level arguments. In other words, there's a huge issue, like someone is sick in Canada, or they have a child and there's just no one that can help care and they need a family member to come help. We could make the pitch, but understand it's all case by case. But in your case, just to come and just to visit, it's at this stage right now, it's likely not going to happen. And fortunately now with the directive, we have a little bit more confirmation. Okay, another one. Any idea on when the parent and grandparent sponsorship will open for 2020? I personally, my opinion is that it's not going to happen in 2020. There's so much going on right now. The last thing that they want is for elderly people to be traveling to Canada in the midst of this whole coronavirus nightmare. And you'll know, as well as everybody else in the world, that when it comes to the elderly, individuals that are older, they are the ones that are most susceptible. And so immigration is not in any world of motivation to move forward with landing a whole bunch of newly minted permanent resident grandparents and parents. All right, but good question. Helena, a big hello to you too. Okay, Mr. Biko here says, who have ETA Canada can travel? Well, the answer there is, it depends on the purpose of your entry. Once again, Do you pass the exemptions? Are you eligible to get on a plane because you fit within one of the exemptions within the Orders in Council? Do you then have a purpose of entry that is deemed to be non-discretionary or non-optional? And that, once again, is a very, very broad term that is subject to the basically the interpretation of the border officers who are allowing you in. So I can't answer that directly, Mr. Biko. I'm assuming if you're saying, can I come just visit Canada? I'm right now, if I was your immigration lawyer, I would say, no, you can't, not for a visit. And I think that's pretty much a guarantee based on Section 3 of the overriding Quarantine Act Orders in Council. Okay. Okay, this is great. Wow, unknown, COPR after March 18th. Give details, please. Okay, so what you guys have to realize is that some people are receiving confirmations of permanent residence after March 18th, but to a large extent, they've been focusing on those in Canada. All right, but what's happening is sometimes they question or they're not sure, the officer isn't sure whether you are in Canada or whether you're outside. And so some people outside Canada have been getting letters. They've been getting instructions. And they're slowly starting to open things up. But yes, the number of people, Karen, as you've identified, that are getting a COPR after March 18th are still very, very limited. And let's face it, all over the world and all of the foreign missions abroad, the Canadian missions, some of them have been completely decimated. In other words, officers have come home back to Canada. Others, because of the restrictions in those countries, cannot operate. And so they are truly operating on a skeleton staff. Now, where possible, those applications are being shifted because of the whole global case management system and the universal nature of how they're processing files. But there's still a lot of aspects to it. The passport, the imprinting of the visas, all those things that go with foreign missions abroad, they're just really struggling to get those done. So it makes perfect sense that there's not a lot of those COPRs coming after March 18th. Okay, Amin says, what if inland similar to unknown? I'm based in Canada post 18th. My GCMS says approved 25th of March. You're probably going to get a letter, my friend. They're slowly working through it. They have culled out almost all of the backlog. They've really worked hard to get through all of the people who had pending interviews or pending COPRs where the letter, the passport request had come. They've gone through a lot of those, which is really, really good. But Amin, you're really close. So likely you're going to get an email saying, if your application has actually been approved, it's going to say, congratulations, you're a permanent resident. Send in a photo for your PR card, and then we'll sort it all out after. That's kind of what they're doing. Okay, here's a tough one, Darshan. Here's a tough one. Hey, Mark, if one gets terminated before getting ITA, suppose 7 days before ITA, do we need to update the EE profile like end date? Yes, you do. Under any circumstance, you do. If you are inside Canada, your Canadian experience class, anything before you get the ITA, you can make any changes that you need to. You don't want to get an ITA with work history that's not accurate. And if you don't make that change saying you're no longer working there, maybe 1 month later, 2 months later, immigration is still calculating those points towards your comprehensive ranking system score. And then it's locked in once the ITA is granted. So yes, you have a duty to keep things updated. Okay. Okay, unknown. Hey, Mark, when the payment is done of the request, the right of permanent residence fee, what is the next step? Okay, I'm a little confused here, my friend. We know now that the fees have increased. So you have to pay the additional amount separate, and then you pay the rest, the traditional regular amount, through the portal. So what I do is I actually pay that fee in advance, the extra amount, the right of permanent residence fee, but also the increase. Remember, there's a little bit of an increase now for those of you who are paying your fee. You don't just follow the IRCC instructions and just only pay what they have there. You also have to pay a separate additional amount because the fees have increased. So with your RPFR, the right of permanent resident fee, that fee itself is kind of the last part that you pay when you're submitting your application. So I don't know what kind of application you're doing, unknown. If it's express entry, you pay that when you submit your EAPR. If you then have been requested to provide it after the fact, so you only paid the application fee, make sure that you're paying the full amount of that right of permanent residence fee. And then it's just a matter of waiting until your application is finalized. Okay, our boss says one of the questions that we're all asking, every one of us are asking it these days. immigration lawyers like myself, average everyday people that just want to be reunited with family. They're all asking the same question: when are the border restrictions going to be over so that we can travel after we get our passport request? We just don't know. Now, the Orders in Council, I know Canada and the US, they're looking at extending those travel restrictions. And usually what happens with the US is very similar to what happens with the world. So in the next couple of days, we should see what's going to happen with these Orders in Council and the travel restrictions to see if they will be extended. But at this stage, we're just not sure. We can all feel that this oppression is starting to lift slightly. In Canada, technically the hairdressers are open. I can go to a barbershop and get my hair cut. I just have not had time to get over there. So, there are, and to a limited extent, some restaurants are now being able to be open. People are practicing social distancing. And so some of those restrictions are starting to be lifted. But the actual travel back and forth between countries, how all of this kind of got started in the first place, you can appreciate the government's apprehension. Now, with the self-isolation, those quarantine requirements, if Canada just required everybody to quarantine when they came into the country, and they had a real good mechanism like this new app that they are releasing and that are having many people who are able to come and travel under, because they're exempt from the travel restrictions. They now have that app, and I can't remember what it's called, but I tweeted it on my Twitter page, and you can just go to @MarkHolthe to connect with me and follow my Twitter account. But that app now they're going to use, and there's other things that are going to be used as well to help track people. So when you come in, my hope is that things will soften, things will open up with travel, but they're going to have mechanisms, maybe even expedited mechanisms, to even test for COVID-19 before you board. And when you come to mandatory self-isolate for 14 days, and if there's good tracking in place, they may just be able to lift things. Okay. All right. Victor says, hi, Mark. Nice hair. Hey, mixing it up, my friend, mixing it up. Okay. Education and work history should only be entered if we get points for that. Yep. That's exactly how I treat it. When it comes to education, I guess I'll qualify that. When it comes to education, there's no harm in listing other education in there. And so you can definitely go ahead and list that education in your study history. But then if you do not have an ECA for it, then just list, I don't have an ECA. And then it won't require you to provide transcripts and documents on your actual personal document checklist. For work history, 100%. I do not list any work history there that is not something I'm going to claim CRS points for. Not mandatory. Okay. Karen says, that means IRCC are processing EE draws? They are. They're processing. Yes, they are. Okay. I want to immigrate to Canada. What steps should I take? Book a consultation and we can talk about it. Go to Holthe Immigration Law, holthelaw.com, and book a consult and we can talk about it. I'll flip over here and I'll show this. I'm going to have to do a little switcheroo here for you folks that are tuning in. I'll shift my screen, and this time I'm going to have to adjust this to go back to the web version. Eventually, I'm going to have this all sorted out so that it's just flip, 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 but for now it's not. Go here, my friend, click on, you can expand it. If it's bigger, it probably will pop it up. The Start Here button right here. Go here, book a consult, and I can walk you through the whole process. Simple as that. All right, back to the questions. Okay, we have another one here. This is from an unknown person on Facebook. I have a query about document translation. Should every document be translated? I have some money for proof of funds by selling jewelry, but the receipt of jewelry is not in English. Should it be translated in English? If you have any document you're relying to prove any aspect of your express entry application, 100% it needs to be translated. And not only that, if I once again shift back here to my other screen, not only that, I'm going to pull up the page here. I'm going to go over here to the completeness check. This site right here, okay, has a very important component, which I talked about last week in the last one. It's right here, translation of documents. You need to make sure that you pay very close attention and that you're following these instructions when you're getting any of those documents translated, okay? So those who are the first or novice or learning this, it's this right here, okay? So application for permanent residence program subject to the express entry completeness check. Go check that out. All right, my time is just about up, guys. We are just about through this. It's a short, like lightning fast one, but let's see what we can do. Okay, another one, CS Canadian will drop down to 437. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, all right. Okay, Amin says April. I guess that's when he got his, so that's cool. And we have seen those, Amin. Okay, as a French, have an ETA, can travel to Canada. You need more info than that. You need to book a consult for us to sort that one out. All right, Starbucks Girl says, I made it. Great, you did. Congratulations. Okay, let's see here. Hi, Mark. Nice to see you. We're in Canada, me and my wife, from 18th to the 19th. I'm applying for postgrad. My wife applying for open work permit. Will she get an open work permit even if I don't get a job with Knox skill? No, she will not. If you're on a postgrad work permit, you have to show that you're actually working in a skilled occupation. Otherwise, your spouse will not be issued her open spousal work permit. Great question. Okay. Hamadi says, can I work in Quebec and apply for express entry Ontario? Does my experience work count? Your experience work can count. There's nothing barring or excluding it, but you have an obligation to demonstrate that you will reside in a province outside the province of Quebec. And that, if you're working in Quebec, is going to be a really, really tough thing to do. Okay, can students with grade 12 qualify, bachelor's, various steps? Book a consult, Calra. Book a consult, my friend. Hussein says hi. Okay, Crudy says CRS 456, lost 5 points because of a birthday. Have an EOI from Saskatchewan if you get provincial nomination, or eligibility for each provincial province, which is 60. If I get provincial nomination, will I get 600 points on 456? Yeah, if you have a nomination from any province through one of the express entry streams, which an expression of interest falls under that, then yes, you will get that extra 600 points. Once the nomination is issued, it's then tagged to your profile, and then at that stage, you'd be sitting at what? About, what is that? I can't do my math. 1,056 points. Looks like it. All right. Okay. Good day. Have Canada tourist visa. Can I travel to Canada? Any monuments for now? Any moments for now? Okay, God man here. The reality is, like I've talked about before, if you're coming for tourism, it ain't happening. It just isn't. Patrick, good to see you, my friend. Ghana is in the house. Excellent. All right, guys. It's at 1:17. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to shut her down today. It was a little bit shorter. We'll do another one. We'll be back next Tuesday to answer more of your questions about Canadian immigration. Stay tuned. Watch our website. Watch our various social media channels. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you like this page on Facebook. Then you'll get those notifications. I can't book these or what was it called? I can't schedule these because of the app that I'm using that pushes out to everything. But just watch all the feeds. We've got Instagram. It's under Holthe Law. You can look for Mark Holthe. Request to follow. Definitely, I'll pull you in. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. And I want to wish you guys all the best as you're navigating this crazy world that we have now called COVID-19. Take care. Bye.